Hello, in this video I am going to disassemble and clean a tap from a Lindr dispense unit. This is a rear sealing faucet and the same process applies to most other rear sealing faucets. First we unscrew this end screw from the tap, which I wouldn't normally do with a pair of kitchen scissors, but that's just what I had to hand at the time, and we reveal this.
Yummy.
Next up we loosen the handle up a bit, and then we unscrew the handle using the bottom thread and pull this out of the tap unit. Then we can take out the flow control. We can loosen this and just wiggle it out. This means we can now pull the flow control unit out and with a bit of assistance get the shuttle out from inside the tap. And as you can see, there's very tasty gunk on the inside of this tap.
So these are the parts from a Lindr beer cooler tap, and we never see people stripping these down and cleaning them properly, really. But over time, this is what happens. This is from a machine I rescued from being in hire use from another mob, and yeah, basically between hires or between events, you should always strip down these taps and give them a clean, because these rear sealing faucets are terrible. They let beer in there and it dries out, that seals there, as opposed to a Perlick that sort of seals there and it's always wet and sealed for the beer side, whereas this gets all this dry stuff. You can get these little things that you put on and you squeeze to flush it, but they're not really good enough. They're a good sort of every evening routine, but even if you've got these sorts of taps in permanent use, Lindrs or just on a tap wall, you should take these taps apart every month and clean them out. I tend to use a couple of different brushes, nice big one that can go through the body of this, a slightly smaller one that can go up the spout and go through things like this gap here. And I quite often utilize a toothbrush as well, and just a bit of soapy water, that's all we need, and then we rinse it off and we put it back together. So that's the brush before we start washing the spout. That coloration on that brush is purely from scrubbing up that spout there. So all of that, think about that, that's in contact with your beer. This whole shuttle bit here is a beer contact surface. Goes around that way in the tap, and the handle goes through that hole to operate it back and forth. Typically beer comes through there and down the spout, but there's no seals at the front here or anything, so quite often you'll actually get beer coming back into here and then flushing back down, and as you can see there's little lumps and stuff on there that I've scrubbed off. It's all come out of it, and in front of this is where that spring goes there, which was particularly disgusting in this tap. It still is, I haven't scrubbed that yet. And again, sometimes on the fronts of these taps here, you do see black ooze coming out around that screw, and that's all disgusting and should be cleaned.
With the tap cleaned and rinsed, we reassemble it, starting with the little shuttle valve, putting it in so that the hole through it is towards the front, and that way the lever off the bottom of the tap there goes through it, which is what actuates it backwards and forwards to open and close the tap. Then the spring can be popped in and the little screw that holds it down. This screw does not need to be put in super tight, just screw it down firmly so that it sits in place. Finally, we reinsert the flow control cone, making sure we line up the divot in the side of it with the hole where the actuator slides in, and then the little knob on the end of the actuator needs to fit into that divot, and that's what shifts the cone backwards and forwards for your flow control.